Well, it's the fifth Sunday of Lent, and we're through about 2/3 of the season. I wanted to take some time today to address a question we've received from a few congregants. Why are we leaning so heavily into this Catholic thing? This is a great question with a few answers. The first is simple. Lent isn't a Catholic thing at all. Lent is observed by Christians the world over. Catholics, Eastern Orthodox, Anglicans, Lutherans, Presbyterians, Methodists, Episcopalians, Moravians, some Reformed churches, and a growing number of evangelicals all observe the season of Lent. It has been a foundational part of the church calendar for around 1700 years. And certainly, for those who have not grown up with the traditional liturgy of the church, Lent may seem strange and reminiscent of a more ritualistic branch of Christianity. But this isn't a bad thing. Rituals are those activities we engage in repeatedly over time, not because we believe them to have some magic power, but because they're useful. Just like going to the gym once is only going to make you sore and miserable, but going regularly over months is going to make you stronger and more healthy, leaning into spiritual disciplines over a long period of time with prayer and intentionality will deepen your spiritual life and strengthen your faith. Which leads us to our next reason we observe Lent. It offers an opportunity to lean into spiritual disciplines we might otherwise forget about throughout the rest of the year. We live in a culture of instant gratification and self-indulgence. Lent is our act of rebellion against that culture. It's a time that we set aside to choose self-denial, patience, and reflection. It's a time to slow down and check in on our hearts, to remember that Jesus suffered for us and we are called to be willing to suffer for him and his kingdom. Just like Advent is a season to lean into hope, peace, joy, and love, Lent is a season to lean into patience, reflection, prayer, and generosity. Finally, we observe Lent because it connects us with Christ's church around the world and throughout history. As I said earlier, Christians have taken part in Lent for 1700 years. Today, nearly 2 billion Christians around the globe participate in Lent in some way. We show unity with the Church Universal when we together celebrate Jesus and seek to draw closer to him. We show the world that there is one church, one bride of Christ. Though we haven't always agreed or gotten along or even treated each other well, Christ calls his church to unity, and Lent is an opportunity to step towards unity rather than away from it. With all that in mind, I want to encourage everyone in their Lenten disciplines this week. I'm sure some of us have fallen off the wagon and others are struggling to keep the discipline going when letting it go would be so easy. If you have let your fast or prayer time or giving go, I invite you to jump back on for these last 2 weeks. Remember, disciplines aren't about perfection. They are about drawing closer to Jesus. And if you're struggling with your fast this week, I encourage you to keep going, dig deep, find the inner strength that comes from relying on Jesus. He's always bigger than any hunger or craving or discomfort you may be facing. In him is joy, peace, and love. Until next week, Rock Point.